Alright, welcome back. We have a new deck in Standard. We have Sultai Squirming Emergence. Alright, what is the game plan? Game plan, turn 1, play a tap land. Turn 2, play Founding the Third Path, which lets you cast your adventure half of Cruel Somnophage to let you mill yourself for 4 cards, or your opponent, or draw 2, discard 2 off of Tempest Heart, scan the clouds. And then you can also play a turn 2 Ledger Shredder, which is really good in a lot of formats. You can play a turn 2 Aftermath Analyst, which mills you 3, and then if you pay the other cost, you can put all your lands into the graveyard tapped. And then we also have the Ancient one, a 2-mana 8/8 that can draw, discard, and also mill you or your opponent. And then when you have 8 permanents in your graveyard, it is can attack and it can block. So as you can see, we have lots of permanents. The only not permanent, surprise surprise, is Squirming Emergence, which lets you play your non-land permanents from your graveyard to the battlefield if its mana cost is less than the number of permanents in your graveyard. Also, we have Wrenn and Realm Breaker, which also mills you 3, and you can put a permanent card from the milled cards back into your hand. Could be convenient. And it makes a 3/3 Vigilance Hexproof Haste creature. And then, what are we going to return with Squirming Emergence? Well, we can return Founding the Third Path, which lets you also cast Squirming Emergence off the third chapter. But most likely we want to return Atraxa Grand Unifier. If you don't know what this card does, then you probably should. It's a lot of advantage and lifelink and flying and vigilance, blocks and attacks, very hard to deal with unless you have a removal spell. And then our other target is the on-color Gruff Triplets, 3/3 trample. Trample, very important to note. And then gets tokens that can also dump their power as 1/1 counters on other members of the triplets. So this is difficult for a lot of decks to deal with, and it can put the lights out pretty fast as it has trample. Also blocks as well and cracks back. Our mana base, we have our comes into play tapped lands, we have our pain lands, we have 1 Otawara, very greedy, no basics. We have Sunken Citadel, and also Plaza of Heroes to naturally cast our Atraxa if it gets that far. For a sideboard, we have Tear Asunder, basically a removal spell for anything with the kicker cost. You can also play it off of the final chapter of Founding the Third Path, very convenient. Our Graveyard Hate, Unlicensed Hearse. We have Malicious Eclipse for those low-to-the-ground wide decks for -2 to the world, and then exile your opponent's creatures if they die. We have Terror Tide, an additional board wipe equal to your Fathomless Descent of permanents in the graveyard, which is usually enough to kill the world. We have Virtue of Persistence as a early removal spell to gain you some life, and then a late game power play against control and mid-range. And then lastly, we have Titan of Industry, another sideboard target that basically is get a creature, destroy artifact or enchantment, gain life, or create a 4/4 warrior, or put a shield counter on a creature you control. So extra life gain and extra destruction. There you have it, Sultai Squirmies.